Go. Well, guys, nice to see you. I hope everyone's still drying off from the all the rain we've been having. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little tired of it, although I'm glad it's not snow.
Yeah, I was just going to say, anytime between now and April in New England, rain is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we just had a little more of a fire hose than just a
Hmm.
gentle storm. But at any rate, it is December 20th, the final NEVEC Zoom meeting for 2023. It's been a great year in that regard. We've had some really fun Zoom meetings, so I'm very glad that everybody's been able to make it throughout the about all the months this year. And so we want to sort of have a semi-open forum. We're going to have a couple of restoration presentations that we'll get to enjoy. And Santa's here. Like I said, for some of you joining late, Santa has been signed by the New York Yankees and he has to follow the facial hair policy. So no beard. But at any rate, before we start, first announcements. I don't have much. The only announcement I can offer is you may recall a couple of meetings ago, I had talked about the ordering your tables on our website was having some problems. We had to do an interim solution by purchasing your tables through Joe Coco through WJOE.com. But that's since been fixed. So between Alan, myself, and Bob, we've been working on this on the background, and we have PayPal restored back the way it used to be, and everything should be working fine. So all is good. So if anyone has any trouble, do reach out to us. We'll try to fix it as soon as possible, but I don't think that'll be a problem. So that's the only announcement I can think of. There's no other shows or events I can think of coming up because we are pretty much at year's end. Bob, do you have any announcements you want to add to that? Oop, you're on mute there, Bob. Whoop, still on mute there, Bob.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no announcements, but I just wanted to say thanks to you and Al and Joe for fixing the PayPal and allowing us to order tables. That's critical for our March show, so thank you.
Oh, no problems. Thanks for everyone's patience. It's just we had a little bit of a hiccup, but PayPal is something you have to learn how to integrate, and it's been a little bit of a learning experience. And Alan was instrumental in figuring out some of the basics there, and I was able to take it forward. So, but at any rate, but before we start to the agenda, the main agenda items, I wanted to just spend a few minutes to talk about the recent loss of Jim Ligouri. For many of you who've been to any of our shows, Jim and Jeanette, his wife, have been fixtures at the show. Jeanette runs the greeting table to sign the vendors and buyers in, and Jim has always been around. He's had tables in the past. He's always lurking about. He's been on our Zoom meetings a number of times. Just a really good guy and a fun guy. And we've had many good conversation. And we're certainly saddened, on this loss. And then to add to it, we saw the recent message from Bruce on Bob Pinowski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was known as Hi-Fi Bob. And I guess he was also influential in changing our name from the New England Antique Radio Club to the New England Vintage Electronics Club, because they used to help run a hi-fi museum in, I think, in the Windsor area, Windsor, Connecticut area, very close to the museum. So we're sad to hear we were aware that he was not feeling well, from the chatter on groups.io, and sadly we lost another member. So it's been a little bit of a tough year for us in the club because we're a close-knit community, and between Bill Holly earlier this year, Jim and Bob, it's a little bit sad here. But I would like, just quickly with Jim, I just have I wanted to spend, give anyone an opportunity, they want to share their favorite story of Jim, or just, say anything, they're welcome to. I have a few pictures I like to show just for, that I'll share. And one is that David sent me, which I'll let him, as soon as I hit that picture, to take over and say a few words. Share. Here we go. Bruce. Oh, sorry. I'll wait. Make sure. Can everyone see my screen here?
Yep.
Yep.
So I'm sharing just a few pictures that Bruce had sent, because he made there was a celebration of Jim that Bruce was able to attend, and there were some pictures, so we had taken a few. So for those of you who been regulars at any of our club swap meets, Jim was always lurking about. In fact, my favorite view of him is lurking about the free table, because he was nobody could better pick great radios out of the free table than Jim, and sneak them into the back of the hatch of their SUV, hopefully with Jeanette not looking. But there's, of course, Jim and Jeanette, and Jim was in the FBI, and there's a nice retirement letter from Bill Clinton, congratulating on retiring. He was in the FBI for 32 years, which is very impressive. And also, here's just a little, some of the little details tied with being part of the FBI. And I know that Jeanette was part of it as well. So work for the FBI, so they are an FBI couple, and so they've done us proud and appreciate all the service they've done. So Jim was a man of many talents. And I hear also, I think Bruce can tell much more story about him than I, but I heard he was quite a drummer. But then there was, Jim did make one of the what was before Raven was the radio news. We were still in the ARC, and there's Jim right there. But then I'll just show a few more recent pictures of Jim. Oh, and his best posture. Here's the famous free table at Brookline, New Hampshire, and Jim is lurking about, trying to find something good out of all the free stuff. And I have to admit, we often get some good free stuff, which Bob will be showing us pretty soon. And there's we got some players here. I think we know Howard, and I think that's Roger over there, and there's Jim.
I'm putting stuff. Yeah, I'm putting stuff on the table, and Jim's taking it off.
and this is another favorite of my picture. Jim for the win. He's got something in hand, so he's found something there. So it's going away for restoration. But
yeah, that was an Admiral radio that I put on the table that Jim's taken away right there.
Oh, that's funny.
That's actually one that I put on there.
That's hilarious. Is up. You almost should just hand him directly.
Well, here's the thing. I told him, I think I was talking to him at the time. I said, please don't tell Jeanette that was from me.
Well, you have to say, I can either confirm or deny I own that radio. But yeah, this Jim off with his win, and I think that's Bill Jeanette over there, and I know that's Roger. I'm not sure about this gentleman here, but yeah, that's a classic. This is a classic picture of our free table. You usually see when it's well loaded, you have 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 people just lurking about, picking through their stuff and walking away. And over time, it does empty out. And finally, one of my favorite pictures, as Jeanette always manning the table, and there's Jim and Jeanette. He was there, and I wanted to make sure I had a picture. And that was only a couple of years ago. I think 2020. I think it was 22. So there's John Weatherall in the background there. But I, we can't say enough about Jim and Jeanette. It's just been such a big part of our club, and really very helpful for everybody. And Jim certainly missed. wish Jeanette all the best, and we hope we will see her again before long. But at any rate, I'm going to the next picture I'm going to hand off to David, and then if anyone else wants to say anything. But David, this is the next picture that you took, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, this was I think this was about 1998. This was I had bought a portable radio from Jim on eBay, and that's when I think most everything was bought and sold on the Antique Radio Classified before anybody really started using Evil Bay. But I think I had said previously that my wife Sandy was born in Bangor, Maine. Her father was an Air Force pilot, and of course they moved around quite a bit. And in 2002, that's when this picture was taken with Jim and Phil Gwyman, I believe. I never met Phil, but we went up to the St. Stan's radio meet, and I really wanted to meet him. And, he's been a friend for 20 plus years. And, I would talk to him quite often, and he was just always had such a positive attitude. And I was at a church kind of supper this past week, and I usually don't pay any attention to my phone, but my phone kind of buzzed. I think it was Wednesday night, and I looked down and it said Jim Ligouri, and I thought, this late at night, you never get good news like this late at night. And it was Jeanette calling me to tell me that he had passed away the previous day. So he's been a member a long, long time. You guys know him a lot personally, probably personally a lot better than I do, but what a wonderful friend he's been over the years. I'm going to miss him a lot.
Thank you, David. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great that met from a distance that way too. It's really excellent. I'm going to stop sharing here. Did anyone else want to say anything on behalf of Jim or their favorite Jim story?
John, what I can tell you about him is that we did talk quite a bit. And all I can tell you about Jim is that he was always smiling. If you look at him in all these pictures and everywhere else, he always smiled. And he really liked everybody in the club regardless. And always a joy to talk to. As David said, always positive. But I just wanted to mention something else about one of those pictures, the picture of him at this was the picture of him on radio news that you had shown earlier. That one particular meet was in that was at the center there in where we used to have it.
Was it with the Westford Regency or
the Regency, and it had gotten snowed out, and the group that you saw there in that picture, besides maybe two other people, was all that was there at the show. So it goes to show, I mean, there was quite a bit of snow. I remember sliding around on Route 2 as I was driving to it. Very few people showed up, and it goes to show you also his dedication to the hobby. So that's all I'll say about it.
Thanks, Howard. In fact, I only spoke to Jim only a few weeks ago because he had emailed me saying, "Hey, I've got a friend looking to get rid of a German console," and so he said, "Can you give me a call?" I said, "Sure." So I called him up. We talked, and he always was trying to help his friends, find homes for these radios, and oftentimes he'd be calling for German equipment. It's always consoles, which I sadly don't have any room for, but. And we were talking, he had such a positive attitude. He was, I said, "Hey, how you feeling?" And he said, "Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm doing okay." And so it was a nice conversation. And so, but I'm glad I had a chance to chat with him long ago. But well, everybody, I'm going to say this. I don't know if you bring if your favorite libations, but you know what? Cheers to Jim. Thank you. Jim, you've been a part of this club. We won't forget you. And we know that at every spot meet going forward, we will always find you at the free table. So to Jim. Okay. All right. And so I guess we'll then proceed ahead to the main part of our meeting, which will be the restoration presentations. And Bob's going to present first to talk about some of his restorations and ongoing projects. And we have a few people sneaking in here, which is good. Hi, Pear. And Bruce Burgess is showing up.
Hello.
I think I've sharing privileges of it. Yep. So you're good to go. All right, there we go, Bob.
Oh, wow.
So, Johnny, you all set
Yes.
for?
Oh yeah, you are on, Bob. This looks great.
Okay, great. Before our meeting started, John mentioned that he was interested in hearing from restorers. He was better at the electronics than at the cabinets. Well, here I am. I find myself presenting at John's invitation, but I'm actually better at the electronics than at the cabinets. So John said he's looking forward to hearing from restorers, so I am too. So as I present, and if you have any suggestions for how I do things, I'm more than happy to listen to what you have to say. I was going to talk about 4 different radios. The one that prompted John to invite me to present was the FADA 360. And that came about because I actually picked that up at the free table, and that was in September, just this year, 2023. And I rehabbed it, the cabinet, not the electronics. And I put a picture on Groups.io to say thank you to the free table and the anonymous donor. And John invited me to present. So I said, well, I'll talk about a couple of different radios. So I'll talk a little bit about rehab, something that's interesting about the radio, and lessons learned. And I've got pictures of products that I use. I'm not endorsing them. I don't have a financial interest. And if you use them at your own risk. The first radio is the Zenith, right here. Here's the Zenith.
Oh, yeah.
And I picked that up at the Brookline show. And here I am paying Bill from Vermont. It was free, but he asked for donations, so I made him a little donation. So here's the radio. Whoops, sorry about that. This is a little bit sensitive here. So here's the radio. One of the interesting things about this radio is it's got 3 bands, 2 FM bands, and the standard broadcast band. And there was an article in one of the recent Ravens about the Armstrong and his legal battles and the FM band. So one of the things this cabinet needed was some relaminating. Here's a picture of my putty knife going through the laminations. This is the bottom of where the speaker goes right here. You can see there was a piece of the plywood missing. I made a new piece, put it in, and I tend to do the gluing so that it gets down deep into the laminations with, I use type-on glue and a syringe. It's a little hard to push the glue through the syringe, but it works. So I like to be sure it gets all the way into where it needs to be. So
Right.
here's a photo of the gluing in operation. Usually let it sit overnight. You can see the cabinet's been cleaned up somewhat. And so I decided to put new veneer on the front of the cabinet. So over here, you can see that I put some brown stain on the feet. This looks like a lot of glue. As I look back at these pictures, I said, well, that's too much glue. But anyway, here's the veneer, and I put a large assortment of handy tools on here to weight it down. And you can see here, I actually made a jig that goes across the feet here so that I get pressure on the lower part of the the veneer because it wasn't easy to put tools on that to weight it down.
Mm,
So here it is with the veneer on it. And so far it's looking pretty good. You can see the two kinds of wood on the top and new veneer on the front. So I decided I'd put a little bit of lemon oil on this and then put some lacquer on and see how it turned out. So this is what happened. I can't really tell you all what I said when I saw this, but you can imagine it wasn't wasn't very positive. I really can't say it. I don't want the internet police to shut us down. So I thought, well, I can fix this, you know. So before I did that, I decided I'd test out what really happened. And this is one of the lessons learned, you know, you should try things out first before you actually do them on your radio cabinet. So I put 2 pieces of veneer onto a piece of wood and I put lemon oil on one and lacquer on it, which is on the left, and no lemon oil and lacquer on the right. So you can see that my conclusion was the lemon oil caused a problem. I mentioned this on group.io and had a few choice comments saying that I don't really need to put lemon oil on. That was basically the gist of what people told me. So I thought, well, I can fix this. And I went about sanding the top of the cabinet, which is here. There's a lot of sanding here and no sanding here. I also tried I think I tried paint remover and thinner, and it didn't seem to do much. So in the process of sanding, you look over here, I actually ruined the new veneer that I put in. So I said, well, I can fix this. So what I decided to do, my first fix was to take the veneer off. So I cut it here, thinking that if I put in the scutcheon and put the knobs back on, you might not see the cut in the wood.
Hmm.
So here it is removed. Oh yeah, here it is. Whoa, this is too jumpy. Sorry about that. I'm
No worries,
moving my
Bob.
mouse and my up and down arrows at the same time here. So I put the new veneer on, and as you can see, there's still a lot of white from my earlier adventure. And I didn't think that was going to look very good. So I decided to do some research, and I looked at lots of these radios, like on radiomuseum.org or the Radio Attic, or even some on eBay, to see what did they really look like. Some had veneer on the top. Some had the 2 pieces of wood that formed the cabinet, as you can see here. Some of the radios had veneer on the front that was, the grain went vertically, and some had some grain that went horizontally. So I decided to put new veneer on it, you know, so I can fix this. So I had better luck this time. It's got new veneer, and there's a picture of the stain I used, the dark walnut stain on the feet. And so I was pretty happy with this result. And here's what it looks like when it's done.
Wow.
So this came out, I was pretty happy this time, despite my stumbling through the process. And you can see the FM bands here. Here's the Armstrong band is, I think 45 to, I don't know, I can't see it, but 42 to 45 megs. And here's the standard FM band is here, the
Right.
band we're familiar with today, and broadcast band here. And the Armstrong brand only goes half the scale from here down to here. So that's
terrific. That's an
Yeah,
absolutely
thank you.
terrific job.
Yeah, that came out really well. Actually, I was looking at the radio. I did this a year or two ago, and the color is a little bit darker right now. I'm not sure why, but I'll have to explore that. One interesting thing about this radio is there's an interlock here. Try and do this without changing the slide. You can see one of the pins is missing here. This is the back of the radio. Obviously, it was the cord was cut off when I got it. So I thought, well, I can fix this. So I took it apart. This is what it looked like. Glued it back together and thoughtfully put the cord through the back of the back plate on the radio before I soldered it in, because if you don't, you can't get it through the hole.
Yeah.
And here's the result. Oh, and you can see the other picture there, seeing what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
So here's an Emerson 510. I picked this up in Brookline. The reason I did was I've got several of these radios. I decided to collect them because my grandfather had one, and some of them have a black grill here with square holes. Some have a clear grill. Some have round holes. I don't know if they're all the same model or not. But anyway, I thought this might be a good parts radio, so I picked it up for $5. You can see there's a few problems with it. It's been sitting for a long time. The base, the bottom of the cabinet is attached to the radio, but not attached to the cabinet. And here's some of the parts that had fallen off, and the cabinet looks pretty bad. So I took a look at it and I thought, well, maybe I can. The radio actually looked pretty good. And so I thought, well, maybe I won't use it for parts. So I decided to make a side. I made the side with, I had 1/8 inch birch plywood. So I had two pieces of that. I glued them together. I traced the side of the radio and cut out the wood. And I used a route. You can see there's two pieces of plywood here glued together. And I took my router and I made a groove. Here are the three parts over here. Where and this shows how it's assembled. You can see the groove is a little bit bigger than the base, which is here. I did that because I wanted it to fit together easily, and these things aren't always square, and they're just easier to do. You can see it's put together here, and here's what it looks like from the back. So I put some new supports inside. This one is new. These two are old. This one has a hole because if you know the Emersons, they have a plastic back that screws in. So I put the original support on the inside.
Wow.
Next came the veneer. So I wasn't sure I could get the veneer off without damaging the cabinet. So I used wood filler, and you can see I filled these holes and filled up the other places where the veneer was missing, sanded it down, put on veneer, and it was good to go. Instead of, and I think this time I used veneer with PSA on a peel and stick adhesive instead of glue because it's hard to hold it down and glue it because the veneer goes all the way across the tops.
Yeah.
So here's the final result. You can see the top there, the old cabinet, the new cabinet. Now, actually, I was pretty happy with this one. This one came out pretty well. You can see I got the new Emerson sticker here. I found some knobs that seemed to be appropriate. One of the interesting things about this radio was redoing the dial. I actually mixed paint. I used Tamiya paint because I can get it at my local hobby shop. It's acrylic. You can clean it with water. And I mixed it myself. And I used some gold paint and some of these things that are designed for detailed work on models. And that's the numbers are embossed, so that's how I got the gold onto the dial, and then you can see the result here. I think it came out pretty well.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I can attest that Tamiya paint is beyond reproach. I used to build models as a kid, and that was the standard. You know, if you wanted, especially the colors and consistency, they were always top end. You paid, but it was worth the money.
All right. So interesting thing about this is I think this is the connects between B- and the chassis, if I remember correctly. I didn't have time to relook it back up on the before my presentation, but I had an orange drop capacitor, the same diameter as the old one, so I just made a brand new part, and you can see it's installed in the radio.
Huh.
So here's an Emerson FP422. Did the work on this one last year, 2022. I don't remember where I got this one. I've had it for a couple of years. If I looked at a number of pictures, and some of them have what looks more like a column here, and this I saw very few with the circles here. So I thought it was kind of an interesting radio. Yeah. One of the challenges here, as you look from the back, is the top was coming apart from the sides, and at the bottom was delaminating. So that just gives you a picture here of what needed to be done. Again, using the syringe, I was able to get the glue down deep inside the cabinet. So here's a picture of clamps in action. I've got several clamps on here, as you can see, and I use some non-stick aluminum foil here so that the wood that I use for support doesn't actually glue to the cabinet. If the glue leaks out, which you don't want that to do.
Right.
Interesting part of this radio was the back. You can see there's a significant part of it missing. That's actually where it screws onto a bracket on the back of the radio. So I repaired that, and that's what it looks like now. You can see there's a power resistor down here. This radio had a field coil speaker in it that didn't work, so I replaced that with a permanent magnet speaker, and the schematic called for 450 ohms in the speaker, so wire wound resistor that I mounted outside the chassis to replace that. And here's the result.
Wow.
I was pretty happy with this. I didn't have any knobs yet, so that's when I took this picture. I didn't have the knobs. I put a note out on Groups.io and was able to get some. Bruce Phillips was kind enough to provide some knobs, so that's a picture of the knobs. And here I'm using the Minwax furniture refinisher. It kind of reflows the finish on the radio, and then the antique oil finish makes it shiny. So that's how I did that. I've kind of gotten away from using spray products because I like to work inside, and I refuse to spray products like lacquer when I'm inside.
Great.
Here's the radio that I put the FADA 360. I put a picture of this on Groups.io. This is on the free table, so thank you to the person who donated this. You can see this radio has some challenges. Obviously, there's no grow cloth. The veneer near the top of the radio is delaminated. The actual top of the radio is worn quite a bit and needs some attention. So you can see here, I had to decide to keep the veneer or replace it. And I decided I could probably fix it well enough so that it would look okay. It's somebody earlier in the meeting mentioned cars. This is like a driver. You know, I want to fix them. I don't do museum quality work. It's like if you own a fancy sports car and it's a driver, you park it in your garage and you drive it to the show. If you've got a museum quality car, you keep it in a controlled environment, you put it in an enclosed trailer, and you drive the trailer to the show. So these are more like drivers. There's some delamination here. There's a crack in the plywood here, which all needed some attention. So here's the top, and you can see again the delamination here. Also, along here, the top was coming disconnected from the front of the radio. Inside, you can see where there was some cardboard and the cloth mounted for the speaker, so you can see the staples are still here, but everything else relating to the speaker cloth is gone. So here's one of the repairs. I started at the top. You kind of have to think this through on where you start. Again, I'm using a non-stick foil so that the wood doesn't stick to the radio cabinet. Here it is a few steps later. You can see the wood has been glued. I put some wood filler here. And it's a little bit rough here. And I put some stain on, but the stain wouldn't take in the wood filler. So I mixed some brown and black paint and painted it here, right along here. So that's all painted. And I used the same color paint here on the inside of the grill openings.
Oh, sure.
And here's the result.
Wow.
And I was pretty happy with this. I don't know that this cloth is really from that period, but I like it because it's kind of bold and it's the same cloth I used on my Zenith. So I was pretty happy about that. I'll be looking for some knobs. You can see this knob is different from the other two. But those are the knobs that were on it when I got it. Some of the products I used, I put this mostly on the top. I did some on the sides and mostly on the top. And I picked this out because this color here was pretty much matched the color of the radio. When I put the grill cloth in, I sprayed the inside of the cabinet with this. I didn't spray the cloth. I didn't know what the glue would look like on the cloth. And before I put the cloth in, I ironed it and put some spray starch on it. And this stuff is really good. It's dissolved putty. If you can't read this here, you can read the English down here. This stuff works really good on, I found on plastic cracks, but I used some on this radio on one of the wood cracks around the speaker grill. So those are some of the products I used on that. Here's my current project. I've only got one page on this, no more pictures. A friend of mine in New Hampshire called me. He's not in the club, but said he's at a yard sale. Do I want to buy a radio? And he sent me this picture, or a picture that looked like this, not this picture. I said, sure. So we talked about how much to offer him, and he had said, well, how much do you want for it? And the guy said $2. So I got this radio for $2, and I said to my friend, well, you should put it in a bag in a box. Looks like there's a mouse in it. So here I am. I wore gloves when I cleaned it out. And here's what it looked like on the inside. I don't know if this is ever going to work or not. There's a tremendous amount of rust down here, which seemed inconsistent with how the cabinet looks, because the variable capacitor is over here, and it's rusty, but there's no apparent water damage. I didn't have a lot of pictures of the cabinet here, but you'll have to trust me with that. That's this corner of the cabinet here, and it doesn't look too bad. Here's some stuff I took out. This is kind of a blurry picture of one of the residents of the radio was still at home in the radio. So that's about it for me. So I'm happy to listen to any suggestions you got. Obviously, I've been trying things that work for me. I mentioned, using wipe-on products rather than spray products. I've used a lot of spray products too. Don't guess, which is what I did, using lemon oil and lacquer, and that didn't really work out very well. Don't give up, recover from your mistakes. I found also when I put together this presentation, for example, the Zenith I did a couple of years ago, it's a little hard to remember what product I actually used. I think I used probably a spray polyurethane on the cabinet, but I don't remember, so don't hold me to that. So it's good to take pictures and notes and remember what you did and build on it. For those who are watching on YouTube, I've got a shameless plug for the New England Vintage Electronics Club. Consider joining. And there's actually an article about the Zenith HO34 in our quarterly newsletter from last summer. Dave Crew wrote it. And there's a picture of the radio. I think his has got a different cabinet, but it's basically the same radio, and lots of interesting information about Armstrong and his invention of FM and his various fights with RCA and other folks over his patents. And unfortunately, he decided to commit suicide. So it's kind of a sad story, but very interesting historically. So that's all I've got to say. And thanks for listening. You got any suggestions, let me know.
Well, it's
Bruce,
a tremendous job you did there, Bob. Congratulations on those. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention to you when you're talking about veneer. What I use is I use contact cement to put the veneer on, and I'll use it's a little wooden rolling pin that like for wallpaper. That works pretty good to get it ironed out before you put some weight on it. And generally if you get it ironed out, the contact cement takes the hold pretty quick, and you won't even have to put anything on it to weight it down. And the other thing I wanted to mention, all that rust you were talking about, well, you probably figured out that that's because the mouse used your chassis for a toilet.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Yeah, the urine, you're more rusty. The metal seems. That's exactly my thoughts.
You're saying that the rust probably came from the mouse? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I've kind of been leaning that way because wasn't much many problems on the wood case, and it looked like the most of the material I pulled out of the radio was over as you're looking from the back on the left side, which is where the variable capacitor was and where all that rust was.
Yeah.
I've tried to get that rust off, and I've gotten some off, and I put some rust inhibitor on the rest, and the chassis is not going to look great, but we'll see if I can get the radio working. I got but that's about it.
Yeah, I've seen that happen quite a bit, and sometimes there's so much acidity in, not to get disgusting, but in urine that it'll eat right through the metal. I've had chassis where it actually rusted right through the chassis.
Question
Bruce,
about the
you
veneer.
did a beautiful job on the speaker clause. I've never had very good luck with that. It usually looks like I just balled it up, threw it against the chassis and stapled it. And I read a hint somewhere that's worked very well for me, and that is you get some of the fiberglass screening that you can get at the hardware store. You lay it out and you spray it with that same type of glue that you had, the spray glue, aerosol spray glue. And then you place the cloth on that, let it dry, then cut it to the size that you want to work with, or trim it to the size you want to work with, and then put it into the cabinet and staple it. And boy, it just comes out nice and straight and square.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I had thought about something like that. I actually made a plastic template out of, I think it was 0.02 thick, clear plastic. I hadn't thought about the fiberglass material, and
Just regular screening, like for your
a
house.
screen. Yeah. I decided not to use it. It was a little bit too stiff. But I certainly would consider that in the future. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
John, I can't figure out how to stop sharing.
Oh, that's probably not a problem.
Oh,
Hey,
here it
Bob,
is, right
I got a
here.
question.
I
I got
got
a
it.
question about the veneer. Did you have to use a veneer softener at all for either the Emerson or the Zenith to make those corners, or did your peel and stick just go right around the corner without any?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't know there was such a thing as veneer softener. So the answer is no. It's why one of the reasons I used peel and stick adhesive on the Emerson was I thought it would be hard to get it to stay. On the Zenith, I had some problems with using glue on the top as it wound around to the sides and to the bottom. Where that, if it comes down where it is at the bottom, I had trouble holding it there, and I'm not going to show you pictures of that. It doesn't look very good, but I would consider using softener. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Bob, I love your 4 most famous words. I can fix this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty discouraging. I got to tell you, it was pretty discouraging there. I put the lacquer on, went upstairs, and then came down a couple hours later, and that was it. I had it.
Yeah, the Zenith is the Zenith 8H034 is such a pretty cabinet. It's one of my favorite post-war design, American radios. That's a Charles Eames cabinet, design.
Yeah,
cabinet.
Yeah, I've got a couple of radios designed by Eames. I think that was one.
Yeah, there's another one, another Zenith that was, I don't think was multi-band, at least didn't have FM, fact, I think you bought it. I thought there was one being sold at the show, and I thought I saw you walking away with it. That was another Charles Ames.
I bought one from Tom Scarpelli.
That's it.
One of the NEVE shows. It's a blonde one.
Yes,
I
that's the
can
one.
show that sometime. And then there's a smaller Emerson that Ames designed too. I've got
Yeah.
one of those. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal once about Ames and
Mm.
a picture of those 3 radios.
Yeah, the 034 is probably my favorite design, right behind the blonde one, second place. That's a very pretty and attractive sort of post Art Deco, design. Well done. I mean, really nice job there, Bob.
Thank you. And thanks for suggestions, everyone.
Right. Guess the next what I'll do is I will. So Greg's going to show the same presentation he gave to Archie back was it October, early November, somewhere around there.
Early November it was, yeah.
And I'll do is I'll share my screen. First, I have to go into I can go. Hopefully, I can do this correctly. Let me try to share this. I'm gonna try doing this. I'm gonna try to go to presentation mode here. You guys, let me know if you can see this. This is try to go to PowerPoint. I'm gonna open into. Share.
I'm glad you've had more experience with this, John. That's why I turned it over to you because
But this is always a little. Hold on a second. Let me see. Make sure I seen this come up. It should. See if I can get it to. It's just loading. One moment here, guys. I should have. It came up quickly before the meeting because I was just trying to make sure I had it was good to go.
Mhm.
And Excel. It's weird. Let's see what happens. It says just a sec, loading the file. All right. That's the thing. So what I want to try and do is do a slideshow. Doing Excel, that's very weird.
Yeah, I think probably because it was saved as a PowerPoint, you probably have to open it in PowerPoint mode because
Yeah, that was the I chose PowerPoint for the web.
okay.
And it worked perfectly fine before the meeting. There's Murphy's Law, right? Everything I make sure everything is up and going, and then suddenly it decides to be problematic.
Yeah, I know nothing about PowerPoint. Actually Tom Zajac of the Archie put that together for me. He runs the Zoom meetings for them, and so my thanks go out to him for he did a great job with it, but I have no idea what he did.
All right, so now let's see. I need to be able to put this in slide. That's just still spinning its wheels a little bit here. See if I can get this to. All right, now what I'm trying to do. That's very interesting. It should be allowing me to.
John, I'm hearing your audio breaking up, and I wonder if there's a bandwidth problem. Is anyone else hearing the breaking up in John's audio?
Yes.
Yep.
He's nodding, and
Ah,
so
that's
your audio is choppy, to say the least.
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Are you on? Are you
can you-
hardwired in or on your Wi-Fi?
I'm on Wi-Fi. Can you guys hear me okay?
Now it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're talking a little bit louder.
Okay, I'll see if this. Okay, so all right. Now I
Can you bring
think.
up your mic thing?
Yeah, it's funny. I've twiddled with this, and it's just probably the characteristic of the microphone. If I was sitting probably just a little bit more comfortable. See, I think we're. All right, there we go. All right, I think I'm in a position, but it's, boy, it's slow. I think I'm in a position to share.
Now it's shopping.
Is it? It might be that it's, you know what? What I'll do is let me try a different approach. Is I wonder if I can download and then open it locally, because you know what, I was trying to do it over the web, and of course I'm running Zoom. I've got my my Yahoo window, and it's just loading. So maybe if I try to just load it up, because I have PowerPoint locally on my laptop, that may just ease the problem. It's funny, everything worked very nicely before the meeting, but probably just the additional load, I
Sure.
want to get a new, I'll probably do for a new laptop, but this has served me very well. So, so now I'm opening, I download the file, I'm just loading up right now. So sorry guys, the best laid plans sometimes go slightly awry. But hopefully it'll come up in just a moment. Oh, sorry, I guess someone else really needs to join here, but Given is just doing a little bit of a spin of the, that I call it a toilet bowl spin that you get from, the thing loading up. But meanwhile, do you guys have good Christmas plans? Anyone having to travel, or is everyone staying put in your for your
I've
holiday?
got a message for Santa. I have a message for Santa. Santa wants to know what we'd like for Christmas. So I know Santa likes cars, so I'm asking for an Austin Healey 3000.
Not a bad
Come
choice.
on,
I
Bob.
get that.
Bob,
I get that first.
Sandy's pretty powerful these days. Wouldn't you like a Bugatti?
And Santa almost had one.
Whatever Santa has in the bag.
I'd settle for a 61 Chrysler 300.
Yeah, that dashboard alone is well worth it. I'll even take the dashboard.
Actually, Christmas came a little early. My son-in-law and I went down to a little town of Thorndale, Texas. There's a salvage yard that's going to be closing, and they have 700 plus cars. So we went down there and we got a treasure trove of parts for his 68 Cadillac, and I was able to get quite a few parts for my 70 Chrysler 300. And the good news on the whole thing was that the guy who's basically in charge, I guess he's a relative of the man who started the junkyard many, many, many years ago. The cars in there going all the way back to the 40s. He's basically going to have to be scrapping out these cars. So if you go down there and you find a car that's that's one like you have, that whether you already own it or whether it's a project that you're working on, he's basically selling anything off of the cars that you would want for essentially their weight in scrap value. So he's not looking to make an arm and a leg. He's just trying to make the stuff go away. And whether it goes away through a crusher or whether it goes away to somebody who's coming down and taking bumpers and chrome and other things off of it, it was basically all we could carry away in his pickup truck and his trailer for about $400 for bumpers and grills and hard to come by parts that you just can't get, stainless moldings and chrome pieces and all kinds of things like that. Tail lights, tail light
said
bezels.
that was in Thorndale?
Yep.
What was the name of the place?
I
You remember?
I never heard the name of the place. My son-in-law found it. There was a listing on Facebook. If you go on Facebook and look for a posting of Thorndale salvage yard closing 700 plus cars is like the posting on Facebook. And then that'll get you if you reply to that Facebook posting, there's a gentleman by the name of Matt. And Matt is the guy. And he just went back and forth with Matt in Facebook messages. I'm not even on Facebook. And then he said, hey, I'm going down to Thorndale. You want to come? Because there's a 68 Caddy down there that I can get parts off of. He was going to get the whole car for $600.
Wow.
But it became too massive an undertaking. So the guy said, well, give me 200 and you can have whatever you can take off of it. And then I'll just crush the rest. So when we got down there, ostensibly I was going down there to help him pick parts off of this 68 Caddy, and about 60 feet away from the Caddy was a 70 Chrysler 300 that was, and I'm like, well, you get back to work on your 68 Caddy. I'm going over there because there's a lot of good stuff over there for my car. So I wound up working over there.
Hate to bail on you now, kid, but
yeah, exactly. But there's my car over there.
Yeah, I know. Nice.
The
Nice.
best part about it was that I could still help him out a lot because somebody had taken, I think that 70th Chrysler 300 had like a 440 and a torque flight transmission and an 8 3/4 rear end. And so all those parts were already gone. Somebody just wanted the drivetrain out of it. Who knows how many years ago, but they did a great job in basically dismantling the whole front end of the car to get to the transmission and the engine. They didn't just hack it apart. So they actually disassembled things. So, and a lot of the parts they just put inside the car in the back seat. So the entire grille with the hideaway headlights and the 300 emblems was all sitting in the back seat. The parking lights, the fender mounted turn signals, the chrome for the fender mounted turn signals, the hood hinges with the springs, all that stuff was all taken off and was inside the car. And then the rear bumper treatment is very unique with a sort of a taillight lens that goes the entire width. And only the 300s do that. The Newports and the New Yorkers are smaller.
Right. Exactly.
But the car was kind of down in the back, so it was going to be impossible to get under there. But since the guy was there with his big machine picking up other carcasses to dump into the crusher, he picked up the Chrysler and like put it on top of a pile of some other stuff so that the bumper was now like 3 feet off the ground so that I could get in behind and get in the trunk and undo the bolts. And being Texas, the last tags and stickers on the car were from like 1989. So, 19 years, then the car died or whatever, wound up in the junkyard, but every single nut and bolt came off.
Wow, you're lucky.
To take, especially a bumper that was down on the ground, and the bumper was not rusty, and bumper bolts of all things, were able to come off with hand tools, out in the middle of this field.
That wouldn't happen in the Northeast.
No, and the same thing with the 68 Cadillac that my son-in-law was working on. It's like every nut and bolt came off, and so we had fun. We were there for probably a good 6-7 hours.
Nice. That's fun.
Yep, it was fun. It was a great day. We started out like in sweatshirts and then by noontime or so it was like 63, 64 degrees. We're in t-shirts and we're just wrenching away on these things. I felt like I was a kid again when I used to go to the junkyards and take all those parts for things I was trying to resurrect. This was more or less an insurance type of a thing for me. I was all of these parts, if I have decent quality bumpers and grills and taillight lenses, hopefully that means I'll never need them because nothing bad will happen to my car. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. All you could carry for $200.
Well, you know what? And those are not easily found. Those 73.
No, exactly. That was the thing. It's like, and that's what the guy Matt was. That's why he was saying, you can have it for the cost of what I'm going to get for it in its weight. I'm not looking to try to get rich off of it. So, and we're looking at it like there's no such thing as reproduction parts for these kinds of cars. They're, too much of an oddball. It's not like it's a Mustang or a GTO or a Corvette or something.
Yeah.
So, it was great fun.
That's cool.
And now now we've wasted enough time where you got the presentation.
Oh, yeah. It was up, it was up actually in the early part of the discussion, but I wanted to hear this.
Oh,
So,
okay.
John, there's
I
no
did-
problem on this side of the thing. I just,
Well, it
no
is it's the vintage electronics thing. I did not dive into the dashboard of the car to get the radio out of the dashboard. So sorry, that's,
well, we'll look the other way there. That's
All
okay.
right.
You're among sympathizers.
All right.
So, but yeah, so Greg, I'll let you just do the narration. Just let me know when you want me to jump ahead. But can everyone see this okay?
Yep.
Great.
Sure.
And can hear
Yeah,
everybody?
I'll
Sorry.
just say next slide when we're into the, when we get up to that point. But before we begin, I just want to apologize to Santa for having to sit through this again because he saw it at the Archie meet in November. But it's nowhere as near as in depth as what Bob did. But it's basically 3 Majestic radios, just showing kind of the before and after what I started with and what I wound up with in the restoration. This first one is called the Studio. It's a 1933 Majestic, and that's how it looked on the left when I got it. That's the empty cabinet. The chassis was sitting next to it. And that's how it wound up when I finished it. I think the next slide has a little bit more information about it. There we go. So we just made 1933 and had unique Majestic tubes, tube band. There's a advertisement for it on the right. It cost, let's say, $37.50 in 1933.
That's neat.
And it's a fairly desirable radio these days. They go for a pretty good price. So I was kind of happy to find one at all, regardless of what the cabinet looked like. And the next slide is kind of a unique picture. These are 2 publicity photos of a young Bob Hope in 1938 taken at Paramount. And he's got a studio sitting on his desk right there. Kind of hard to see in the picture here, but the knobs are actually incorrect. Somebody took the knobs off it. But what's interesting about the photo, if you look at right behind him on the photo on the left, you'll see a Zenith Walton's radio.
Oh,
A lot of
yeah.
people have always been wondering if those bezels were polished when they were new or if they were black, because some of them are black in color. But I think that kind of illustrates that would have been a brand new radio in 1938. So I think
Wow,
it's
that's
safe to
neat.
say that they were shiny.
Yeah.
And let's see, next one. Yeah, there's how it looked when I got it. I picked it up at one of our Wisconsin meets in March of this year. Thankfully everything was there. That was my biggest fear, is that whoever took it apart lost a lot of the hardware and the knobs, but they were all in a bag. And the knobs on that thing are impossible to find. They're wooden and they're shaped like a plus sign, and you'd never be able to find them anywhere else. And thankfully they were there. The back was there. It's a pretty cramped chassis. The unique part about it is the chassis sits sideways in the cabinet. It's actually bolted to the side of the cabinet. The tubes are pointing, I think, to the right. We'll see it when we get to those pictures later on. But on the next one here, there's kind of how I began the restoration. It's showing how I had it taped off to do the toning of the black areas. Biggest challenge was removing all that paint that was on it. It was like house paint. It was pink and blue, so I had to scrape all that off first, and then do some sanding, get it nice and smooth first, and then applied some sanding sealer, and then did the toning. First I did the black, and then I did the lighter colors. And then we topped it off with clear enamel. There's some of the products that I use. I use a lot of Mohawk toners. Those are some of my favorite flavors on the left. And then with the bare wood, I use lacquer sanding sealer on it, because if you're going to do 2 different colors, you have to, and you're going to tape it off, you have to have the wood sealed beforehand, or you'll lift off little pieces of veneer. It's especially good to do if you have a cabinet that has a original finish on it and you're just looking to touch something up. Coat it with a light coat of sanding sealer so that when you tape over it, you don't pull the veneer off on the tape. And then I use a plastic wood for wood filler, and once it's toned, I top it off with that Ace premium clear enamel. It's a nice clear spray. It gives a nice shine to the cabinet, not too dull or not too bright. The thing I like about it's not lacquer based, so it won't attack your decals if you have water slide decals over the cabinet. Okay, what do we got next? And there looks a
Wow,
final result.
Wow.
stunning job.
It's a one, I think it screams Art Deco. I don't think you
Oh,
can find
sure.
something more Art Deco than that, but
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely love the design.
it's not terribly big either. It's you know, maybe about 12 inches tall or something and 10 inches wide.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, doesn't take up a lot of real estate, but
Is that grill chrome or
I think it's like nickel plated.
nickel plated? Okay.
Yeah. And there's a next picture, I think, is the front and the back. You'll see the back, how it's
Let's see if I can bring up just a little bit bigger. Ask if
Sure.
we go to full screen mode here or larger. See if I can just get it for people. Can people see this a little bit better? Is this helping a bit?
Yep.
All right, let me see if I can probably bring it in a little bit more. And maybe that should, I think that would work. See, that might be pushing it, but yeah, probably about that. It's about right. As long as that works for everybody, I'm going to be somewhere around this range that seems to
sure.
work.
On the left side, I assume over the, it's the volume control. What is there, a scale there or?
Yeah, this is a zoom. Yeah, that's right here, Carl, where my cursor is, the lower, which would be my lower right corner. And I can go try. I'll see what happens if I try it. Does this still work for everybody? You see okay?
No, I was asking about the radio.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, no,
Much better though.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
what's in the window above the volume control?
Yeah.
It just says Majestic. I think they put that in there that kind of for aesthetics.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
I
did a
think
beautiful
the next
job on
slide
that.
will show it better.
let's see if this is. Oh yeah, okay, it's all working out. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was having a little bit of trouble, so I was fiddling. So I thought I'd leave this out of presentation mode, but that seems to be better.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's full screen now.
Yeah. In fact, we can always go back to the, of course, see if there's any more details we want to see. You can see these things a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But I'll roll forward here. Oh, you're right. By the way, just for everyone's benefit, you can see in the window here the Majestic. Yeah, right there. It's a
And
little
you
bit
can see
better.
the shape of the knobs too. They're the plus shaped knobs they had.
Yeah, these ones. It's funny. Yours look more plus than the advertisement shows.
Yeah, it could have been an early prototype or something.
Yeah, maybe, or a little bit of artistic license.
But
Anyway, beautiful, beautiful job.
thank you.
Oh, there we go. And that's a nice front end shot.
Yeah, there you can see it says Majestic. And you see how the chassis sits in there sideways, and there's actually a little knob right by that coil down on the bottom of the picture, and that's your band switch. It has a police band on it too.
Oh,
Okay.
But it's kind of different because the cord sticks out of the top of the opening because the way the chassis is sitting, you're used to having a cord at the bottom of the radio, but it works.
It's almost a shame they didn't have the Majestic sign light up as well for just free advertisement. Turn it on.
Yeah,
Man,
that would have been nice.
Phil, Maya, I love the grill bars as well.
Yep.
Now is that metal, Greg, or is that actual paint?
No, it's actual metal. Like I said, I think it's nickel plated. I didn't
Oh, okay.
do a whole lot of rubbing on it because I think the finish on it is kind of thin. But
Yeah.
it's not chrome.
It looks great.
And the grill cloth I got, there's a fellow named Michael Katz.
Oh yeah.
He's got some really nice patterns out there, and that one especially looked nice on this radio.
Yeah, Michael usually has a table at our shows. I expect people. In fact, I will make it a point. In fact, now that we have the website generally under control now, is ironed out. I'm going to try and add his card and information on our member link. For like services, so I'll try to add his information. But probably he's well known throughout our community, but just in case someone doesn't know, I'll have the contact information available, his website, so forth.
Good.
Next,
And there's another 1933 Majestic. This one is a little bit more of a challenge in the cabinet department than the other one. This they call this model a treasure chest, and for obvious reasons, or a pirate's chest. It's one of the first novelty radios that came out, and one of our longtime vendors at our meets pull out this box and show it to me and says, "I think you could make something out of this." And so he gave it to me for a good price. I think it paid $20 for it or something. And it was a challenge, but
wow. Wow, that is all the detail work is impressive when you look at the before and after. There's a lot of effort into that.
every single surface on there was re-veneered.
I don't doubt that. But it's
Because
also the metal parts. Now, were you able to polish that? Because it's either corrosion or something. You look at the bright gold and look at the state of it prior to your restoration.
Yeah, I think there's some more pictures, before pictures on the next slide. Oh, it looked.
Oh, wait a
Like,
that's
the
cool.
original ad for it. Yeah, Majestic pirate chest radio.
That is cool. I love the advertisement.
One of our club members found that for me.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was made in 1932 as a 4-tube model. And what's really interesting, unique about this, the 4 tubes in it are unique tubes just for Majestic models. The G84 rectifier tube is not a standard 5-pin rectifier tube. It's a 4-pin tube. That was the first head scratcher when I found that out. And a little bit more information you can read on the other tubes. Majestic tubes are not corresponding with traditional numbered tubes. They had their own numbers. They had a spray shield on them, which was the S at the end of the tube number. So be aware, if you ever pick up an early Majestic, you might have a bit of a problem finding tubes for it.
Interesting. Very interesting.
You know, that's the inside of it with the lid open.
Oh yeah, I know. I love the look. Very
Yeah,
simple,
it's just
but
simple 4-tube radio. The speaker's mounted up on the top there, and there's a cable going from the chassis into the top lid.
yeah, that's fun.
Despite how the outside of the cabinet looked, the speaker was perfect. It was like new. I suppose because it was enclosed inside that wood there, that it wasn't attacked by the elements or whatever caused the damage to it.
Is that the original speaker cloth?
It's identical to the original. The original
Wow.
cloth was rather stained, but that was the same pattern they had in there. Yeah.
That looks great. Did you get that from Michael as well, or was that just his?
No, that I had a piece of. I don't know where I had it for a long time. I might even picked it up on eBay or something, one of the cloth sellers. But when I held it up to it, it matched identical. I said, "Well, that's what we're going to go with."
Oh, that's terrific.
So, the outside of the cabinet, that was not veneer on there. It was a real thin. They call that like the Crosley Buddy boys are made out of repwood. It's a real thin repwood, and it was just disintegrating and chipping off all over. So I just basically wound up removing it all, and I carefully removed what was left of the trim pieces, and they were repwood as well. I had to be very, very careful to try and get those off without breaking them. There are a number of them that were missing on the corners, so I took a little bit of liberty on some of the trim pieces. I picked some of those up at I think it was Menards had little brass trim pieces, and used those for some of the corner pieces up on top, and the straps up on top that were to hold look like leather straps to hold the lid down on a treasure chest. I used brass shim stock to recreate those. So basically, I took a few liberties and doctored it up a little bit to make it look more like a treasure chest.
So these straps, for example, on top were actually meant to be the color of the wood, or they were not actually bright. You actually changed that? Is that what you're saying?
Right, they were actually a pressed rep wood too. Everything on the outside of
Ah,
the cabin was made out of rep wood, and that,
very interesting. Well, I
yeah.
like the outcome. That's all right. That's art. That is really tasteful artistic license. I appreciate how you ended up the way you did.
And I've seen some of those original, and they were rather plain looking, so I thought it needed a little bit more dressing up. But you can see on there some of the trim pieces that remained. You know, they had some under the hinges there and on each corner. Those were all made out of ornate rep wood. And so I took them
Oh,
off and I put them on a piece of cardboard, and I just coated them with a light mist of a gold, a bright work gold paint, just to give them a shine, so it would match the brass of the shim stock and the other trim pieces I used. And that's how it looked inside when I got it. And the grill cloth wasn't too bad, but it was a little ragged, a little discolored. So when I found the original, I just went with that.
wow. Wow. What an interesting. Now look at that.
And that's just the finished product.
So these pieces up here, you crafted yourself?
Well, those are some pieces I found like I said, at Menards. I think they have
Right.
them. It's like a chain store, because
Right.
I didn't have enough to go all the way around anymore. There were so many that were missing, or they just
Right.
disintegrated when I tried taking them off. So I just used those up on top, and the original ones I kept on the bottom,
Oh, that's great.
and just reattached all that stuff again on the outside of the veneer.
Considering the condition that you started with, this is remarkable.
Yeah, I thought it turned out fairly decent. Just one of those things where it was trial and error. I couldn't hurt anything. I couldn't make it any worse. So I thought, well, maybe I can do something with it to make it look
Oh,
more
sure.
presentable.
Did a great job.
I think the next slide, you can see underneath how the chassis sits upside down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the chassis, the bottom of the chassis itself was very, very cramped. It's only about an inch thick. All the components under where the tube sockets are were just jammed in there. You couldn't tight the dial is actually on the bottom side too. And had to be very careful how you mounted it. Otherwise the dial itself would bind when you tried tuning the radio.
Right.
But there's two there's the heat shield over the output tube and rectifier tube.
Oh, yeah.
And this, yeah, right there on the corner. And this is the last one. This is a 1937 Majestic Model 75, and that was had a lot of veneer work that had to be done to it as well. In fact, everything but the middle section was re-veneered on there.
Wow. That's remarkable.
The 7-tube radio.
Plus, it's got magic eye, which is always
Magic Eye
big.
tube. Yep. And there's actually a picture of me standing with a baseball cap on there on the right when I was buying the set. One of the club photography happened to catch me in the act. It was sitting on the floor behind that table there. I was looking down at it. And I had recognized it because the man that ran the it's called the terminal, where we had all of our meets for Wisconsin Club, he had passed away, and this was the last meet they had there, and they were trying to get rid of some of his collection. He was a collector himself. At the very last meet he attended, I was right behind him when he bought that radio. Had he not bought it, I would have been right there behind him to get it. But so it was kind of ironic that I was able to pick it up after he passed away from his estate.
Wow.
His name was Joe Halser. And you can see there, that's how it looked on the floor. And in the back, you can see there was even a lot of damage to the substrate inside the cabinet. It was all rippled and water damaged.
Yeah.
Had to replace that. And there's where I was doing some of the toning. A lot of masking goes on, a lot of different colors.
So it's like, so you spray it. I can see it looks like a nice even coat. Looks very smooth.
Well, that's the trick. And anybody on the call who uses Mohawk toner, you all know that it's not like spray painting. You have to be very, very light misting coats to get a nice even finish. Because you put it on too thick and it's going to run on you.
Yeah. Right.
And there's the finished product.
Interesting. And midnight blue. It's interesting that there was a color chosen on the inside.
Yeah, Zenith was always notorious for having midnight blue, so I was kind of surprised to see that this Majestic used that as well. There's a picture of the dial lit up. It's got a lighted indicator needle that moves when you tune from band to band. That little red light moves down one notch.
Oh, wow. That's
Different band.
beautiful. That's a great dial.
Yeah.
Of
And there's
course,
these neat little windows underneath there that tells you when the volume's on, how far the volume's up, or what band you're on, and your tone position.
yeah, that's great. Love it. That's definitely eye candy at night.
Oh, definitely. That's a nice thing. And anybody who restores radios, that's one of the joys of them, is you have some beautiful dials to look at in a dark room.
Hey, Greg, I get I believe the same chassis and a slightly different cabinet, and which also has super veneer problems. But if I remember correctly, that dial pointer thing that moves, it's kind of spring loaded, and it
Right.
has a string that goes around the band switch. Did you struggle getting that to be able to go to all three bands, or getting it to align correctly? Because I'm struggling with mine.
Yeah, I think that might be a design flaw, because on certain parts of the dial, it'll line up perfect, but as you tune to a different end, it loses its place a little bit, drops
Yeah.
down a little bit. So yeah, it's not just your radio. I think that was how they all were. Mine was froze solid. I had to use a lot of WD-40 and Croy oil to loosen that whole mechanism up to get it to move at all.
Great job on that. Quick question. Are those knobs original to that radio? Because I noticed mine are wooden and they're very different.
Yeah, no, I don't think they are the original knobs.
Okay.
Those are the knobs that were on it, and I wasn't able to find the original, and I thought, well, they look okay the way they are, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just stuck with them.
It looks great. Good job.
Thank you.
That was terrific. It was terrific. Thank you for that. That's a lot of fun. Beautiful, beautiful work. Between
thank
you
you.
and Bob, you guys done fine, fine work.
Yeah, Bob did a tremendous job too on all of his sets, and I can certainly relate. I had a Zenith chassis like that. I pulled it out of the cabinet, and it was just leveled off with all that mouse dropping material and stuff. And the bad part about that is to get rid of that smell is very, very difficult, because once you have a chassis that was a mouse house for a long time,
It's strong. Yeah,
it's strong. Yeah.
that was great. Well, thank you guys. Geez, here it's just about 8:30, and we do have Santa. So I don't know if Santa wants to say a few words for us. We believe all of us have been pretty good electronics collectors throughout the year, but I don't know. Santa may think otherwise, so I don't know what Santa has to say here.
Well, if you've been good, you're going to get what you want. I'm going to make sure. And what do you want, John? What is your wish for Christmas? What do you want to see under the in the fireplace there?
Wow. This is I'll throw the Hail Mary pass, Santa. and and you're gonna have to get a pretty big slate to pull this off. But
no problem.
But one of my still radios that I do want, it is a console that I would want, is it's hard to find, as rare as hen's teeth, is a Telefunken Opus Royal console. They were made, in fact, I have a little picture I can show. They were made
no problem, John, no problem. Just it probably won't get there by Christmas, but if you hang out at the food table, I'll make sure there's one sitting there for you.
Well, it's funny. I know of one actually in Reading, but it's been in a garage for quite a while. And, I really would want one in better condition. It's one that's pretty haggard. It's fixable. Anything's fixable. Just like Bob said, I can fix that. I'm not so sure about me in terms of that, but what's special about it is it had not only had an Opus chassis, but it had a built-in stereo amplifier to the side. It's a U.S. market only radio, so this thing is loaded up with electronics out of the factory. And special speakers, the whole 9 yards. So I guess I'm gonna have to just stand around the free table Santa, and one will hopefully materialize, and I'm counting on you.
I'll do my best. How about you, Robert? What do you want to see for Christmas under your tree?
Under my tree, I think a pair of tickets so I could go to the next NEVEC meeting would be really great.
Okay, and how about Robert Bennett? What do you want to see for Christmas? You're muted at the moment. Unmute yourself, Robert.
Hey, Bob, you still muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. I was so enthralled with the conversation, I forgot I was muted. They're stunning radios, by the way, guys. So that's just great work. I'm working on a radio that I was literally given to me by a gentleman that was within the New Jersey Antique Radio Club that unfortunately had passed away just before the pandemic. And I had it was a 3000 Royal 3000 Transoceanic transistor one. And I've been going through it, and I have a couple parts carcasses, and I want to try to get that done within the next 2 weeks to kind of remember him. He was really a kind of a great guy. He was a bright guy. He went to the RCA Institute and actually learned how to be a radio and TV repairman, and he was just a super nice guy, and I kind of miss him. So that's just going to be my Christmas for myself and my wife. We're probably going to go out to dinner maybe this weekend and have a nice quiet dinner. So thanks for asking.
That sounds good. And Hugh, what do you want to have for Christmas besides whatever you're cooking there? Maybe you could leave a little of that for Santa.
Gee whiz, I'd like some time, Santa. That would be really great to have some spare time. But my radio thing, a Marantz 10B, if I'm offering it up. A nice FM tuner would be great. But
good choice.
What crossed my path one summer when I was working at Raytheon. One of the guys there had one, but it would have been my entire summer pay to buy it. So it didn't happen then. But someday maybe that'll come. But I did get a great Christmas present. My daughter gave birth to a baby girl at the end of November. So I'm now grandfather to a 7.5 pound now bundle of joy. So I'm very
congratulations, you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so there we go. Hence the request for more time. But
We'll do our best. And Noah, how about you? What do you want to see under your tree or whatever?
Well, I guess, selfishly, probably, a nice maybe 16 by 20 foot addition, because I could take care of filling it up myself. I just need the space, and I'll do the rest after that. But I think maybe more fitting for the whole group, I would love a nice, easy, simple cure for silver mica disease.
Oh, amen.
Sounds good. Greg, how about you? What do you want to see for Christmas?
Well, if you couldn't find that 61 Chrysler 300, I'd take a 62 and lose the fins. That's okay. Could be a two-door hardtop or a convertible. I'm not fussy.
Nothing wrong with that. It's a 4-inch shorter wheelbase too, so it's actually a little bit faster, has a better horsepower to weight ratio.
Hey, Greg, why stop there? Why not just get a 300 pace car?
Yeah, that would work.
I'm gonna have a great time dropping that down your chimney, I'll tell you.
Well, if
Better
that
get
wouldn't
your
fit,
video
Santa,
camera out.
if that wouldn't fit, Santa, I'd also take a Spartan Nocturne if that would fit down the chimney easier.
And how
Yeah.
about you, Carl? You look like you're ready for something. What do you want to see under that tree?
Oh, Mr. Harris stole my dream. I've wanted a Healy 3000 since I was about 12, but I think more than that, could Santa kind of clean up and arrange my workshop?
Oh, I've got some pretty good elves these days. They
All
work
right.
hard. Maybe I could get them working on that.
What does Santa want?
Yeah.
I'll tell you at the end. Brad, how about you? What would you like to see for Christmas?
About an extra 24 hours per day so I could do my hobby here with all these neat electronic stuff.
Well, that's tough to manage, but I'll try and manage at least 1 extra hour for you. You just go to sleep and you won't know it, but I'll slip in another hour. It won't show on your clock or anything, but we're pretty magical here. Hey, Russ, what about you? What do you want for Christmas? Oh, you're muted, but you're not showing you're muted. It looks like you're unmuted.
Yeah, because it says, whoop, you're on. Nope, can't hear you there, Russ. Little sound setting here.
No audio coming through.
I hope Russ is not going to get cold now.
Santa, I think you may have to send him batteries for his microphone.
Okay, we'll go on to Lynn. How about you, Lynn? What do you want from Rhode Island for Christmas?
Exactly. Anything from Rhode Island. Any radio from Rhode Island.
Anything will do. Okay, I'll manage
Yeah.
that, no problem. And Rob, we heard from you. And Howard, what about you? What do you want for Christmas?
I want the time thing, so early retirement, I think would be good. I can start to get to work on some of these things. You know, with Jim passing, which is really sad, it reminds me back of when Charlie Perkett passed, and I still have 7 or 8 consoles left that were going to get thrown out that I took from him, and I recently got one of them going. It's an RCA 19K. Nothing special, but it's a nice console, and it sounds beautiful. And I'm probably going to bring it to one of the Brookline shows, and I'm probably going to let it go real cheap just to cover the recap and everything. But anyway, yeah, more time to fix more radios, Tom. I think that's what we all want.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Santa wants that dual diversity receiver that he got rid of. And if he can't manage that, I could use that Bugatti, darn it. Back to you, John, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah. No,
Merry Christmas.
that's great, guys. And that's actually, you know, I toast everybody for a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas there. You know, and actually, thanks for all throughout this whole year, in fact, prior years, all the great presentations and comments and experiences, all those things that are shared on the Zoom meetings have just made for a nice experience. So it's greatly appreciated you guys continue, because as long as we have people willing to show up, we keep running the events, keep running it. So we'll just keep doing it until you guys get tired of me. No, something will happen. You will eventually get tired of me. So, but oh, in fact, actually, speaking of which, I'm going to actually have to plan out the Zoom meeting schedule for next year. So trying to decide whether to do it right after New Year or wait 1 week. So I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll give you guys a little time to kind of recover from the new year and maybe start the following week. But I'll have a look, and you'll start seeing stuff posted on the website for the calendar year 24. And in fact, I have to go look ahead all the events coming up. In fact, in general, to you guys, if you hear of events beyond what I normally try to put together on the website, do reach out and let me know so that I can make sure it's on our club future calendar of events. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great holiday and stay safe, stay dry. Hopefully no serious weather that just prevents us from more importantly, prevents Santa from getting out, you know, and so hopefully everything will be good with you guys, and Merry Christmas to your families, and stay well, stay healthy, and looking forward to seeing you in a year from now. So I guess I should probably let you guys go, give you a little bit of your time back, and unless anyone has anything else to say, but you know, thanks very much for the great presentation today, guys.
No,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
All
Merry
right,
Christmas.
guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
everybody.
Christmas, guys.
Everybody.
Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas.
Happy holidays. And take
Thanks as
care.
always for doing this, John.
My pleasure, Carl. Thank you guys as well. It makes for fun, no trouble. It makes it fun for me. And of course, thank you, Santa. You never disappoint.
Bye,
Merry
And
Christmas. and Happy holidays,
everybody.
everybody.
happy holidays.
Thank you, Santa.
Thanks, John.
Take care, guys.